Hey everyone, Cataclysm is finally here, and for the last few days, millions of players came back to Classic to see what the fuss is all about regarding this expansion. Is it good, or is it really as bad as everyone thinks it is? Well, after playing it for a solid 5 days now, reaching level 85 and getting most of my pre-rate biz, I can tell you that me and millions of other players are really enjoying it so far. But throughout the last few days, I learned a lot of very useful tips and tricks that saved me a lot of time, made my character much stronger, and overall allowed me to have a much smoother journey through revamped Azeroth. And today, I'm gonna share all these tips with you so you can apply them too and benefit from them. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, let's talk about the concept of bag iLvL. In Cataclysm, currently, you need an average item level of 329 to access random heroic dungeons in the LFG tool. Later in the expansion, we're gonna get Titan Rune dungeons, and the minimum average iLvL to access those will likely be raised. So this tip should be useful all throughout the expansion. Item level 329 is decently easy to obtain. However, if you're still missing those last elusive few items to reach that, there is a very easy way for you to boost this quite easily. You see, what the LFG tool is looking at to let you queue to random heroics isn't actually the average eye level of the gear you have equipped, but rather at the average eye level of every piece of gear you can equip that is in your bags. I think you see where I'm going with this. Instead of waiting till you reach an average equipped eye level of 329, you could, for example, go to a reputation vendor and start buying gear that you can equip that will boost your average bag eye level. Start with the gear slot that you have the lowest eye level with and work your way up from there. For example, my second trinket currently is only eye level 318. However, I have this tanking trinket I got in a heroic dungeon that is boosting my bag eye level for that slot by a decent amount. Of course, you don't want to abuse this. Don't go boosting your bag eye level and then try to tank a heroic dungeon, for example. You'll get steamrolled out of existence quite fast. But yeah, keep this tip in mind for now and for the future. Next, and to stay in the topic of gear, a lot of people, and me included until a couple days ago, really neglect the power of reforging. In Cataclysm, just like any expansion before it, many classes have what is known as stat caps. The most popular example for this is hit rating. For melee, you need 8% hit to never miss against a boss. For casters, it's 17%. But there's also expertise for melee or haste rating for casters, which all have caps. The thing is, those stats are gonna have a huge impact on your character's power until you reach those caps, so you should really prioritize reaching them. The good news is, unlike vanilla, TBC, or Wrath, reaching those caps is now way easier thanks to reforging. Basically, you always want to reforge any secondary stat that doesn't have a cap for your class into a secondary stat that does until you reach said cap. For example, as an arms warrior, I need to reach the hit cap of 8% and the expertise cap of 1682 to never miss or get any attacks dodged or parried. Until then, I'll need to reforge any crit, haste, or mastery on my gear into either hit or expertise. Now, what stat you should reforge into what other stat depending on your class is beyond the scope of this video, so I suggest you have a look at your class guide on Wowhead to figure that out. But yeah, keep this in mind and go do it now if you haven't already to increase your character's power with the click of a button. Last tip regarding gearing, generally speaking, if an item has a higher item level, it's probably an upgrade for you, but that's not true 100% of the time. To know exactly and instantly if something is an upgrade for you when it drops, there's a very solid add-on called Pawn. But Pawn, by default, is not very useful, which is why you need to pair it with simming your gear. We could spend a whole video on simming for stat weights and how to optimize your sims, but to keep it simple, you want to go to wowsims.github.io. This is the go-to simulation website for Classic. Unfortunately, as of writing this video, not every class is supported yet, but that should change very soon. Anyways, you want to choose your class and spec and then enter the exact gear you're wearing in this page. You can also do this way faster by getting the add-on WoW Sims Exporter, running the command /WSE in-game and then copy pasting this text string into this window. From here, you want to pick something like 20,000 iterations and then click on stat weights and then calculate. This will take a bit of time, but in the end, you want to click on the copy button near DPS EP. Close this window, go to export, choose Pawn EP, copy this string of text, and then go to your Pawn add-on. Under the Scale tab, click Import and then paste the string you copied here, click OK, and finally make sure to check Show this scale in Tooltips. Now, whatever item that might be an upgrade for you will be highlighted in green, and it will show you how much of an upgrade it is for you. When I first reached level 85, I had a ton of gear in my bags. I did this and found exactly what I needed to equip very fast. Of course, you'll need to rerun this simulation and copy the new string every time you replace an item, because your stat weights will change a little bit every time you replace an item. But that's how to use the Pawn add-on to have the most accurate comparisons. Alright, let's move on from gearing and look at some more general tips. First, let's talk about dungeons. In Cataclysm, heroic dungeons are no pushover compared to Wrath, but they're still relatively easy to go through for the most part. However, there are some bosses where you'll pretty much need to know what to do in advance to not risk wiping everyone. Thinking about Korla in Blackrock Caverns, for example. Thankfully, Cataclysm has a tool that lets you do just that, the Dungeon Journal. With this, you'll know exactly what every boss does and what you as a player are supposed to do. I suggest you go through this as you're running to the next boss while doing a heroic dungeon. This will probably save you a run to the graveyard sometime. Next, we have the Wrap of Unity. This is an item that you can buy from the guild vendor. Side note, if you haven't already, you should really join a guild ASAP. Any guild really. That's because guilds have a lot of very useful perks and rewards that will be very useful for you all throughout your journey in Azeroth. And one of these rewards is the Wrap of Unity. You unlock this at Honored Reputation with your guild, and what this does is it gives you a free teleport to your capital city every 4 hours. This is very useful, of course, if your Hearthstone is on cooldown, or if your Hearthstone is set to the zone you're leveling in. If you're not yet honored with your guild, by the way, the fastest way to level your guild reputation is just to do quests, which is why it's so important to join a guild before you start leveling. You'll reach Exalted way before you even make it to max level. But if you're max level and you're still neutral with your guild for whatever reason, go ahead and buy the tabard from the guild vendor in your capital city. This will increase how fast you get rep with them. Speaking of leveling, this is a point I've hammered in a few videos in the past, but a lot of people seem to still fall in this trap. So here we go again. You really want to prioritize questing while leveling and not farming dungeons. This is because by the time you reach max level, you'll have to go back and do a ton of quests that you could have done while leveling instead and saved a lot of time in the process. The most obvious example for this is the Therazane reputation. This has an enormous questline in Deepholm, and it's a very important reputation to get to Exalted because it contains the best shoulder enchants in the game. A lot of players fell into the trap of skipping Deepholm and leveling through dungeons, and now they're going back to Deepholm to farm this reputation. But even beyond Therazane, you should really exhaust all the quests a reputation has before starting to level said reputation through doing dungeons with their tabards equipped. That's because the quests contain a huge amount of reputation, and they're way faster to do than running dungeons, which take about 20 minutes to complete and only reward about 2k reputation. So please focus on questing while leveling. You'll be glad you did that once you're max level, and you'll save a ton of time and hassle in the process. To stay in the topic of leveling, this is a bug currently, and it should get fixed soon, hopefully. But while questing, you'll notice some quest givers, or just NPCs related to quests, straight up won't appear. This happened to me in Uldum for the quest Crisis Management. Those NPCs I needed to talk to wouldn't appear, and I sat there for a solid 10 to 15 minutes trying to figure out what was going on. The tip here is to just fly out of the zone you're currently in and go back to it. This should fix the phasing of the mobs. It only happened to me twice, and both times it was in Uldum, so I think this is only an Uldum bug. If something that's meant to be there isn't there, flying in and out of the zone might fix it. Speaking of Uldum, the first time you need to go there, you'll notice that you'll have a long journey ahead of you to make it there, especially if you're Alliance in Stormwind. Uldum is a solid 10 minutes of flying and 1 boat ride away from Stormwind. Thankfully, there is a faster way to get there the first time, and that's by going to Dalaran and taking the teleporter to the Caverns of Time in the big tower to the west of the city. Of course, Dalaran might be equally long to get to for you, so you can't just ask a mage to port you there if you don't have the ring. Once you start questing in Uldum though, and this goes for any high level Cataclysm zone too, you'll unlock portals to those zones straight from your capital city. If you decided to quest through Vashj'ir, you'll notice that you'll quickly get stuck in this zone with no way to go out of it until you finish it if you moved your Hearthstone there. However, in reality, you're not actually stuck. All you need to do is swim up to the surface and you'll go above the the water. From there, equip your flying mount and go to the Flight Master on the little island at the surface and fly to wherever you want to go. Finally, and I only learned about this 3 days into the expansion, there's actually a second quest hub for the Tol Barad Dailies. The Baradin's Wardens is a faction that sells very strong trinkets at Exalted, and that will last you for quite a while. So you really want to get that rep to Exalted ASAP. And the fastest way to level their reputation up is through doing their dailies. However, as you teleport to Tol Barad, you'll be put at the main quest hub, which contains 6 dailies. But, and that's what I completely didn't know about until a couple days ago, if you go south to the second zone, there's actually a second quest hub at Baradin Hold. And if your faction controls Baradin Hold, which it probably does considering how one-sided servers are nowadays, you'll get a further 12 quests to do. I guess I didn't figure that out until someone told me, because this map is a bit weird and it doesn't go to the southern part of Tol Barad if you click there where Baradin Hold is. The only way to see it is to use the menu at the top. But yeah, if you didn't know like me, there you go. And that's about it. Those were 10 handy tips for Cataclysm that should find use all throughout the expansion. Cataclysm has been super solid so far, but so is every expansion at the beginning. We'll have to see how it goes from here, but I'm positive that we'll have a lot of fun in tier 11 and beyond. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to give it a like and subscribe, as there will be a lot more content like this in the future. My name is Numidia, and I will see you guys again very soon. Bye for now.